by 2027, you would see air taxis flying in the airspace between Delhi and Gurgaon, between Delhi and Noida, and doing passenger transportation.
Just imagine in next 25 years when half of the world will become affluent enough to own a vehicle. We probably will have as much as population as vehicles. Where will we drive them?
I believe that actually India is a very interesting case and a complex case, definitely, because it's the most populated country in the world.
Very good afternoon to all of you. I think there have been exciting sessions this morning and the afternoon as well. And all of them kind of latch on to the subject that we're going to talk about. See, mobility, if really, if I ask keywords from all of you sitting here, the common aspirations, if we really want to see how is future looking like in mobility, would be you need a seamless journey, you need connected journey, you want to travel in clean vehicles from fuel perspective. So there's a lot of conversation around sustainability. How do we ensure that our cities are cleaner, air is breathable, all of that. And also how our vehicles are becoming more safe, autonomous, they're able to provide for safer travel opportunities and so on and so forth. I think these are common aspirations globally, not just in India. So therefore, when we really look at future of mobility, it has to really look at all of these as cornerstones of how new systems will be developed. When we look at mobility in cities in particular, it is not an isolated function. Mobility is a connected function to our urban landscape. Cities of tomorrow will be characterized by how good is our mobility system in those cities. Now, in India particularly, if you see, there are few things that you can see in front of you. Our urban cities are bloating in terms of the urban sprawl. There is a need for decongestion of these cities. We will soon reach unsustainable levels of urban living. So therefore, mobility has to play a very, very critical role in decongesting our cities. We also have an opportunity, while we are decongesting, new cities will come up. How will those new cities have a mobility system which resonates with these cornerstones? I think the big question today is not just about current cities, it's also how do we design our future. So therefore, I'm very pleased to be with my co-panelists here who are working in different aspects of the mobility, and I do believe all of those aspects will have a very deep impact in how we look at our future in our cities. Also, again, when we design our mobility systems, we can't just take a technology lens. It has to be a holistic way of looking at how mobility delivers for societal impact, whether that is for social purposes, or it is for economic purposes, or it is otherwise. The impacts have to be sustainable in nature. Therefore, the future of mobility is technology, society, systems, infrastructure, people at large. So all of that has to be looked at in a very holistic manner and interconnected manner. While we speak all of this, if these mobility systems are not human-centered, if they're not centered around the users, they will again not deliver the kind of impacts that are required. So with that, I think let me start with my first question. My first question would be to Suresh. You've been around urban systems, practicing urban systems for a very, very long period of time. And you've also witnessed several phases of transformation that we've gone through in our urban landscape, and more importantly, in our transportation landscape. according to you, what is the right way of forecasting our future cities? What would be the important elements that will need to be transformed holistically? So as I said, technology is not the only thing. It's not the silver bullet we're going to fire and everything is going to be fine. So therefore, according to you, what would characterize a sustainable change which will tie into all the cornerstones I was talking about?
Thank you, Vivek. So like you have touched upon an important aspect of being sustainable, not actually just implementing something to say that we have implemented technology and then we are becoming smart. So smart actually is something about how efficiently we are handling our mobility operations and then how much outcome or actually value it is creating basically. So I think definitely based on the experience of working in various dimensions of the urban mobility, so I could confidently say that technology alone will definitely not yield results and then sustainability of our mobility ecosystem. Of course, technology will definitely help solving many problems, but it is not just alone. So in that context, I would actually categorize the complete ecosystem to be more sustainable for the future cities into 5 things. First one actually is the policy enablement. I would actually say policy both for enablement and also discouraging few things. It is just not only enablement. So in terms of policy, like in the mobility, the main problems that actually we see are congestion, safety, pollution. So these are the main problems, right? So, but all these things are generated when you are actually creating the demand itself. And that can be completely avoided, you can large extent of it actually can be avoided at the planning stage of a lot of large scale developments with traffic impact assessments before we give permissions itself. But those actually are not very much prevalent in India, unfortunately. And then other thing actually is that the parking. So parking is mostly, though we have some policies, some places, parking is mostly free, and then 95% of our vehicles are mostly parked at some place, and we are actually giving it for free. Whereas public transportation actually prices are being, fares are being increased based on whatever the prices are being hiked every year. I think the policy should enable encouraging the public transportation and then reducing the like private vehicle demand, and then also regulation of what kind of developments that actually are happening and where that should actually be happening. You were mentioning about the urban sprawl, right? Like, so when the city is expanding like that, is our infrastructure actually is in the right condition to take that load when you are approving that large scale development? So I think policy enablement or discouraging the private vehicles are actually is very much important. That's the first aspect. And then the other thing actually is the infrastructure itself, the basic thing, like we all know. So the consistency and then the availability of the road signage and marking itself. So having just basically only that road marking and signage properly put in the road network, that actually gives a lot of predictability for the road user, that okay, what I am going to cross next, and then what that predictability will avoid lot of accidents and then improve the road safety. I think the basic road infrastructure for the road marking, signage, or non-motorized transportation facilities like footpaths, so last mile connectivity issues for the major mass rapid transport systems. I think this basic infrastructure is very much important. While these two things are in place, and third thing actually comes about the technology part of it. So technology definitely as part of, we have been implementing technology since long in mobility as well, but like it got picked up a lot in terms of our talking and then implementation hurry that we were discussing. So a lot of cities actually have thought of implementing technology in hurry, and then they wanted to just implement some technology, but like the things actually that we forgot is that technology is user centric or vehicle centric. Is it actually outcome oriented or not? And lot of technologies or systems are implemented like enforcement management systems or incident management systems, but like once it is implemented, how much focus we are actually giving to operations part of it. So to ensure that we are putting the right people and we are having right SOPs so that these systems actually yielding results, that focus is definitely is missing in the current ecosystem, which need to be I think bring back. And then whatever the system that actually we are implementing, it is not that like we are implementing just for the sake of implementing technology, what problem it is solving. I think that is more important. So the other part actually is that when we are implementing all those things, how much integrated they are. If you are implementing one systems and there is a lot of duplicacy of one institution building technology part or any infrastructure part, duplicating the other thing what is being implemented by other organization, and how we can actually integrate all of them and then bring value to the end users. That is the other thing. And then the last and then the foremost important actually is that how much we are engaging citizens in the entire picture. So the citizen engagement actually is the like in terms of giving the right information to them, because at the end in the mobility, those are the like the clients actually are not municipal corporations or traffic police. Those are the clients. But the thing is that our end customers are the road users on the road. So how we are actually engaging with them, what kind of information we are giving to them, and then how in what format we are giving to them, and at what times we are giving them, so that the predictability can be improved by them. And then they also have lot of feedback and things that actually they need to share so that we can involve them in terms of planning better things for the mobility. I think these are my thoughts on how future mobility system can be designed with all these aspects together.
Thank you, Srinivas. Very important points. What I feel is central to this is there's a lot of data that gets generated in silos. Traffic is generating its own data. It's a different story what is the quality of that data over a period of time, what kind of data are you being able to generate. There are so many sensors that are implemented as part of city infrastructure. There's a lot of third-party data that's available to us. So therefore, what I'm really hearing is siloed approach doesn't work. So in future, things have to be integrated, seen as one form. Second, data is going to be very, very critical, and there has to be some way of ensuring this data is available democratically across the board to work on it, provide intelligence, provide actionable insights, and so on and so forth. So with that, I think, let me come to Siji. Your firm works a lot on automation, connected vehicle systems, etc. And you have a long-standing experience in providing automation services to the automotive industry. We are certainly seeing a lot of disruption happening in that space. There's a lot of tech which is coming in the affordable vehicle space also. We would have never thought that a 12 lakh or 13 lakh vehicle cost vehicle in India would have an autonomous 2-level system in it, right? It's basically because the technology is becoming all pervasive, it's become affordable, it's being developed at scale. So therefore, two things that come to my mind is how do you see this technology playing an enabler's role in the problems that we are trying to solve in the urban form? And how is vehicle and the sensor side of the story playing out together to play a part as far as the future of mobility is concerned?
Namaste and good evening everyone. So while talking about smart mobility segment, one of the key thing comes in the mind of everyone is data. How do we deal with data and how do we make some kind of sensible business case out of that? That is the one of the key thing everyone currently trying to achieve or currently trying to do, right? But the major challenge to reach there, before I just want to give some context that what are the current challenges in this data driven connected vehicle ecosystem, then we can exactly say that how we can move ahead in the future roadmap, what are the parameter or what are the critical components we can build on top of that, right? So if you look into the entire connected vehicle ecosystem, this being we can say 90% being dominated by OEMs who manufacture the vehicle, and we can say 10% being managed by the other ecosystem partners, which we can say the after sales market or the vehicle which is sold in the market, and we are adding some devices to that get the data points. So even though the data processing, data-based solutions, data-based business logics are globally available for multiple levels in multiple directions, one of the major thing in India which we are facing is the uniformity of the data. Now, if you consider the scenario that people are talking about, even though you have the data coming from your car or coming from your vehicle, that is not managed or that is not controlled by a central location or central authority, where this data can also travel to multiple segments or we can say multiple ecosystem partners, and this can be consumed in the right way. That is very important term, right way. I'm considering the privacy etc. in the mind. That can be converted into lot of useful use cases for the end user as customer as you, or the OEM partner, or the other ecosystem partners in the ecosystem, or the government agencies. Now, which are the major challenges or major transformation need to happen in India in this direction? The one important part is to achieve is the accessibility of data. Now, if you look into any ecosystem, data being generated, data being stored in some central location, but it is on their own format, it is on their own technology they are using. It is not kind of opened up to everyone. Even though if it's opened up, it is not securely opened up with a very well defined protocol, very well defined standard approach is not there. So this accessibility need to be built. So while considering to build the accessibility, we also have to consider the second two parameters. One is the standardization, and second is the security and privacy on top of that. So standardization, as I'm talking about, this is very important that if one OEM is creating some data, that has to be seamlessly accessible by everyone across the ecosystem. That way, the development lifecycle or the productivity of the data will be kind of massively increased, and multiple use cases can be generated on top of that. So standardization is one of the important things that everyone has to think. Like if you look into the complete e-commerce ecosystem in India, what exactly ONDC does, that is a massive thing which has been done in India, that all the e-commerce partners are coming to one platform, and that can be consumed seamlessly across the layer with the proper authentication mechanism without having any kind of reinvention of wheel, right? Now the third part, as I told you, that the major part is the security and privacy. This is also one of the major concern everyone is having. If I'm talking to my sales team always trying to sell some kind of devices in the aftermarket, and they're coming back and say no. People are saying no, nahi chahiye mujhe, because it's tracking my vehicle or tracking my location where I'm traveling. So that mindset is one of the things that okay, people are thinking that data is equal to for misusing your privacy. No, not the reason exactly. So for that, we need to have a defined protocol, defined approach, defined security layer, controlled access to the data need to be defined and validated by some certain agencies. That way, the data can be utilized in the right way, right direction. Now, what happens if these all standards are available across the board? Then we can talk about the application layer on top of that. We can build a lot of use cases for OEM. OEM can see and predict what exactly the maintenance is going to happen, how is the health of the vehicle, etc. can be predicted. At the same time, customer also will get a lot of insights that okay, how is the health of my vehicle, how is my travel behavior happening, what are the different abnormalities I am doing while doing the driving, etc., etc. Lot of parameters we can build on top of that. Now consider the other partners in the ecosystem like public sector or government agencies. They can easily implement various parameters for road safety, intelligent transport and management system, or if we can connect that into the smart city kind of ecosystem, V2V, V2X, vehicle to vehicle connectivity, vehicle to infrastructure connectivity can increase lot of things in the ITS segment, including traffic management system, signal management system, also congestion management. Based on the congestion, we can redirect the vehicles in this direction. So that way the entire 360-degree view of the entire ecosystem will be built up. So what I am envisaging that this standardization, security and accessibility is done, then all this layer we are talking about on top of that can make a lot of sense, even though we are talking about a lot of AI, ML algorithms running on data, etc. If the standardization is not there, we are developing things on isolated mode that cannot be scaled the way which we want to try to. This is my view on.
Thank you so much, Siji. I think very important points, and I believe you picked up some of the most important areas of transformation. There is certainly a great sense of thinking around this, that openness of data, obviously with a lot of security, privacy concerns being addressed, and all of that is happening. Therefore, I believe a logical way of going forward in this direction is to really look at DPIs as a framework of future. So digital public infrastructures, you talked about ONDC. Yeah. Now, open protocol for mobility is also in the making. Like example is Namayatri uses ONDC as its base protocol. So I think that probably is the right way of going about in the future, because it's all about interconnected intelligence that will let us move rightly in future. So one of the way I used to always tell my guys is, the day the traffic light comes to the dashboard of my vehicle, I would feel my city has done something. I think that's the way to really look at, when you have meaningful impacts, you will have safety impacts, you'll have safety inside your vehicle itself. And if my vehicle can tell me the threat levels when I am on the road, I would have done something meaningful for my people in the city. So, so what I really am concluding from what you're saying is uniformity of data is important, protocolization is important, so that data can be exchanged across the platforms, and therefore there would be new forms of data intelligence providers who can work in different areas of needs, not that one company can do everything. So thank you so much for that. With that, I move to Viktoriya. Your firm does a lot of telematics in public transportation, safety systems in public transportation. And I think there's this one staggering number I would want to let all of you know. Any guess how many vehicles are there in the world today versus the population? Anyone? Wild guesses? It's very interesting. Anybody? Okay, not taking much of your time. It's 1.7 billion vehicles for a 7 billion population. It's unsustainable. We just can't live like this. And with half of our world not even in the affluency level of buying a vehicle, just imagine in next 25 years when half of the world will become affluent enough to own a vehicle, we probably will have as much as population as vehicles. Where will we drive them? So it's going to be maddening in future. Therefore, the only way to really look at is how do we strengthen public transport? How do we ensure it is accessible? How do we ensure it is equitable? All of that is a problem that we have to solve, and more importantly, for new cities, because that's where the habit formation will happen. we can't let our new cities be car-oriented cities, private transportation-oriented cities. They have to be public-oriented, multimodal. So therefore the question to you, how is this technology landscape evolving? Where are we today? And in future, how will the technology help us go to a state where everything is shared, everything is accessible, equitable?
Thank you so much, Vivek, for inviting me and also for this interesting question that I believe can be discussed for many, many hours. Let's try to make it a bit shorter. Well, Vivek already mentioned that if today we do not address the problem of amount of cars in India, in the future, I believe number of 150 million people are going to migrate to the cities soon. And if all those people will have private cars, well, we understand what's going to happen to the cities. So it is very important now to national government, states government to commit to integrating innovative mobility solutions that promise somehow to enhance both efficiency and sustainability. So public transport today has to be more connected, more secure, more safe, and along with that, infrastructure also has to go. So I believe that actually India is a very interesting case and a complex case, definitely, because it's the most populated country in the world. But at the same time, we can probably use some best practices, and I will explain which ones I believe could work. So Vivek told me to explain about technology, but I will agree with you and actually with the rest of my colleagues that not only technology is important here, although I come from IT company, which I believe it's also important. But there are three things, as I think. First one, it's actually technical standards that today are existing in India. And I believe that for the sake of passengers and for the comfort of passengers, for the efficiency, these technical standards has to be brought up. These technical standards require a good look in terms of safety, in terms of security, efficiency, so the passenger can feel secure and safe on the transport. Yeah, if I am a passenger, the first thing I ask, if I'm on a bus, how can it be safe for me? Also, besides safety, there is a comfort. To be able to smoothly and seamlessly use public transport in smart cities, some technology definitely has to come here. So the second part is technology that we already discussed today. I can speak about some case, for example, of Moscow, which today is actually one of the advanced. In Europe, definitely it is more connected. And I can say that we use different features there that help passenger to move and use public transport and not to use private car. So first thing is the interconnectedness that we already mentioned today. Passenger should be able to know how he can transfer from metro to bus. Probably it can be one ticketing system that it will be easy for him to use. Also, the easy part to do that is also biometry, which I've heard that in India is not yet allowed. But I believe in a few years it will be actually obligatory because that can ensure the easiest and fastest way of passenger to come to the bus and also for payments and also for actually helping to look for people that are missing, for example. That's also a great help for government. So there should be unified ticketing system, unified navigation system. There should be a visual style, also visual design for both metro buses and intra-city buses. for transfers for passenger, yeah, between, as I said, metro, buses, etc. Face pay, which is the future, but I really think it's a close future for India. So biometric data, all the data could be transferred, but only in a secure way, as also my colleague today mentioned. So all that has to be protected, secured. In that case, passenger data also will be protected. And also big attention should be paid to the accessibility and inclusivity of public transport services for such passenger and individuals with disabilities or limited ability. Mobility people. So there could be, for example, driver call buttons implemented on a bus, two-way communication implemented on a bus, which is not very difficult to do. It just has to be in technical standards, I believe. So the third, actually, factor that I believe is also important is people. People who has the vision for creating a better, enhancing, more advanced transport and digitalization of that public transport, so we can set a benchmark for urban transport development actually worldwide. So coming back to my beginning of my speech, as I said that India is a quite complex case, I believe if different practices and initiatives would be implemented here in India, that could be actually a great case and great showcase and example for the whole world. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Viktoriya. I think you summed it up quite well. Obviously, standardization is a never-ending pursuit because it will keep on evolving as the external form is evolving. And I do believe that in India, we need to be more cognizant of this fact that standardization is going to be very important for us to move in a certain direction. On biometrics, I think it's kind of unfolding well in India. For example, we look at DigiYatra. I think most of you would have used DigiYatra. It's a verifiable credential-based implementation. It's a biometric-based implementation. It scans your face and allows you entry to the airports. And there's a conscious effort to bring that as a mainline authentication service to the transportation system. So to your point that how do we make it seamless? How do we ensure it's not just about access, it's also about safety? All of that obviously is on the cards. So I think there's a fair bit of play given the population we have and the implications it can have on that population. On accessibility, there were some interesting use cases that we were trying to work with some of the state governments. For example, you got people who have visual disability. Now, if a public bus is going to a station where you got a differently abled person, how does the driver know that there's a differently abled person who's going to be boarding the bus? So therefore, can we bring these kind of implements on the mobile applications, etc., to the aids of the passengers? So when they press that, that gets translated to the driver. So therefore, there are certain additional ways of ensuring the people are picked up rightly and they are given a right place in the bus or in the vehicle. So I think a very, very important point when you really look at technology playing for people. So user centricity playing at its best. Thank you so much for this. Switching gears, I think we are in an age where land is saturated. We're trying to solve for land, and the only way we can solve is fly high. So I've come to Ankit for that. You are doing transformative work in drones, and I believe a lot of that in the logistics space. I think there's a lot of buzz around unmanned aerial vehicles becoming mainline transportation systems, at least in the city landscape to start with. Small logistics deliveries, critical deliveries, and so on and so forth. And also, at some point in time, becoming a passenger transport system in the cities as complex as Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, maybe Delhi. I think Gurgaon, Delhi needs an aerial vehicle for sure. So I think, it is an inevitable future. So how do you see, one, how is it playing out in future? Second, it certainly has to be integrated with all other forms of transport. It cannot be an isolated system. So therefore, how do you see this opening up in the future?
Thank you, Vivek. Hi, everybody. My name is Ankit Kumar. I founded a company 4 years back, thinking in mind that let's go and transform the whole lot of mobility and bring about the changes which are required in the logistics industry. And keeping that in view, before I jump into answering your questions, I think there's three things which are super critical. One is about transparency, integration, and connectivity. And all these three things are going to make things more faster, more efficient, and sustainable at the same time, while we build for accessibility and other things that we have embarked on for. Now, there's a lot of companies which are doing horizontal means of transportation, maybe passenger, maybe cargo, maybe anything and everything, and helping you to reach from A to B in the time frame that they commit to. But that's becoming much quicker. Who would have thought 6 years back, quick commerce is going to eat into the e-commerce industry? And this is not just a fad. This is not only limited to the capital cities. It has gone to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities. And as that is evolving, I think we need to keep in mind that there's an integration which needs to happen with the air, land, and sea all coming together and working on it. Now, this is something which our Honorable Prime Minister thought about it 6 years back, where the government started working on an NLP, which is the National Logistics Policy, focusing on building transparency, focusing on building connectivity, and building the integrations which needs to be happening between all forms of transportation. Now, we play in the aerial category, low altitude airspace, as we call it, where we are flying drones and we are doing regular deliveries. Began with focusing on accessibility piece of it, which is very crucial for healthcare. We work with a lot of government institutions. We work with a lot of private institutions in terms of delivering medicines, in terms of connecting the farthermost part of the countries when they are cut off because of any natural calamity, may it be snowfall, may it be landslides, may it be any other things. So we began from there in 2020, kept on doing that for 2022, 23 sort of a time frame. And the idea was that always make things more accessible. And these are very hard to reach areas. I'm talking about upwards of Kullu, if somebody has gone there, Manali and lots of other places all around Himachal Pradesh, all around Uttarakhand, and few other places where it takes about 12 hours by road to reach. We were able to do that in about 40 minutes, 30 minutes. And we were able to bring that amount of changes for the pharmaceutical companies, for the government, for the diagnostic companies as well. Then we thought about, what's really going to change? And when we talk about the future of mobility, what's really going to change and happen, and where is the maximum amount of impact which can be created? That's building something in the cities, where we went and we created something which we currently operate only in Gurgaon. Near about 70 plus Skye pods are installed in residential and commercial complexes in the city, and we are conducting more than 200,000 deliveries in a month basis, making that amount of impact and that amount of change. Now, if you look at that number is still very minuscule, but it's changing and it's increasing up and up. So drones today, in context of the last mile logistics in Gurgaon, is about 3 to 4%. But it's taken about 1 year, 15 months to reach to about 3 to 4%. My estimation is it will go to about 25-30% in about next 1 year. And that's the amount of change which is basically coming in, while ensuring that our average delivery time being 7 minutes, while ensuring that we deliver iPhones and groceries in 7 minutes for companies that we work with, and people and the residents of Gurgaon to a larger extent. And at the same time, we're saving about 520 grams of carbon emission to keep it more sustainable in nature, and to get everybody to, to sort of participate in the kind of initiative that we are currently building for. So that's the kind of a infrastructure that we developed. That's the kind of a thing that we created. And we started also building up on how this will integrate with the road logistics, because it's not possible that the drones will go everywhere and drop a package. There is a requirement of something called, as we call it, as Skywalker, coming from Star Wars. Skywalker requirement is there, where the man has to go to the doorstep and deliver the package to you. As we call, is very authenticated, very authorized access is to be provided on a particular package. Otherwise, we never know your iPhone is in somebody else's hand while you paid for it. So we had to ensure that, and we had to build that whole connectivity piece. But to our surprise, we realized that all the companies that we work with, may it be the larger logistics companies like Blue Dart, may it be larger e-commerce players, quick commerce players, everybody is working on a very different architecture. Everybody is working on a very different platform. Everybody has different means and metrics to capture for. And that got us thinking on how do we bring them onto one particular platform? How do we create that entire integrations which are required to make it a more scalable propositions for everybody, not just for us? And that's where we started working. We created a lot of parameters which needs to interact and which needs to get integrated to different customers. And today, I think we operate for about 12 customers, large companies again, and we are all integrated with them. We are serving their requirements, and everything is tech-oriented, everything is coming onto one platform. And we are giving that visibility to the air traffic controllers sitting in IGI or sitting in any other air traffic control offices, towers for that matter, and giving them a sort of a visibility that these are the locations where the drones are flying at all time. And that integration of air and land, or land mobility, is typically happening with Skye UTM. We call it as an unmanned traffic management system, which is the traffic management for the airspace, which was inaugurated by Nitin Gadkari ji in 2023. And he was gracious to, I think he was here last evening talking about and advocating again about how mobility is really transforming this great nation and what kind of things are happening in that particular line. So we are playing that role in terms of monitoring the airspace traffic, in terms of delivering goods to your loved ones, and the future remains around, and the future is not about 5 years or 10 years down the line. I would say it's 2 years down the line. By 2027, you would see air taxis flying in the airspace between Delhi and Gurgaon, between Delhi and Noida, and doing passenger transportation. We might be one of those companies which do so, but that's the extent to which things are right now moving in, and super exciting about how we see the amount of changes which are coming in, and the amount of efficiency that we build onto saving time and still being sustainable at the same time.
Thanks, Ankit. I think the last one excites me more. So, air taxi, Noida, Gurgaon, saves me 2 hours. More than that, actually, at the peak hours. But I think are all exciting times, and I believe integration of land, water, and air is a very exciting future that we're looking at into one fabric. And also, to your point that urban air traffic controllers will become a reality soon, because as more and more aerial vehicles come in, there will need to be some discipline in the air itself. So with that, I think you also amplified need of a marketplace. In all the sectors, we are certainly seeing need of a marketplace taking a center stage, where demand and supply and the value chain is sitting in the same marketplace, and therefore it becomes more democratic, it becomes interoperable, and it's a more broad basing of the market where consumers get the value of what they're paying for. Maybe now, since we are all casting future here, the last one who needs to be saved is the human on the road. And therefore, it's very important that we talk about road safety. I was talking to Dr. Shiv Kumar that I believe road safety is at the epidemic levels in this country. We all talk about, coronavirus hitting us, other virus hitting us, this virus hitting us. But just imagine the number of people who get killed every year because of road safety is staggering. and one is the number of people who die. And there is equally staggering number, which is about serious injuries, that these guys are not able to really take care of their livelihood. Their family is destroyed. So I think, my view, Dr. Shiv Kumar, is I think society at large is not rightly sensitized. Governments need to make this as a focus of their national priority to ensure that road safety is given the due importance. Now, again, road safety, it is probably practiced in many ways, but is there a need to bring more integrated approach, a multidimensional approach to solve this problem? And in future, how do you see play of people, processes, technology, regulation, etc., playing out together and delivering safe roads to our people?
Thank you, Vivek. Thanks, organizers and the audience. I'll throw some of the questions. Just don't answer, but just think. Everybody have seen the accidents, fatal accidents. Most of you have seen. What are the primary reasons of the accidents? What is their impact? We see the impact, what even we can think the impact is manifold. So we'll discuss that part briefly. Then everybody have seen the congestion. The congestion also have different type of impacts, including the pollution, the delay to the offices, productivity impact, and there are a number of the impact, that fueling, waste of. Then the third component which comes is the logistics inefficiency. Can you believe, because of the logistic inefficiency, there is an impact of say 6 to 7% that loading to the companies, to the manufacturers. So there are number of, and the fourth impact is basically the overloading of the vehicles. Whenever there is a overloading of vehicle, it impacts the road. There is a damage to the road. All these four factors, the accidents, congestion, logistic inefficiencies, and the overloading of the trucks, vehicles, or many times even the personal cars. You can see that 8 people or 9 people or 10 people, they got killed in accident. So how they get killed? Because of overloading of this thing. All this is how much is the impact on our economy. Even minister have quoted recently, just because of the accidents, there is an impact of about 3% on the GDP. Overall impact of every year on 8 to 9% because of these four components. So how much is the impact? Impact is huge. The accidents can bring the whole family basically into disarray. It can be the productivity of a company, of an organization can go down. The vehicle which gets damaged, the cost, then the insurance, medical, number of basically factors are there which are having the impact. So what are the basically solutions? What are the primary reasons for it? So let us just touch a couple of reasons for this. One of the primary reason is the human behavior. That slackness, the laziness, the casual approach. नहीं कुछ नहीं होता, जो होगा देख लेंगे. That's what basically we are. अरे कुछ नहीं होता, बेल्ट लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है. जब पुलिस वाला आएगा तो ऐसे कर लेना, इस तरह लगा लेना. But whenever something happens, when the accident happens, it basically takes a second in order to make the accident. The society, as Vivek has said, that the society have to also play a role, the media has to play a role, technology has to play a role, and number of all the stakeholders, they have to work in a collaborative manner, and more than that, government has to work in a holistic or the integrated manner. Government is making the efforts. Undoubtedly, they are building the infrastructure. In silos, they are using the technology. Different ministries are working because we work with various ministries. So we see that ministries are making efforts, but it is working in the silos. There is no integrated approach. So what we have come up, then Niti Aayog is working on a comprehensive national ITS policy. So the policy, one of the speakers said on the policy standardization, yeah, these things are basically mandatory. Once we have the policy, then the implementation of policy can be done by the various ministries. So the comprehensive policy on the ITS is must. The whole scenario is changing. You know that what has been the enforcement, it has been the penalty so far. Whenever you are caught, then there is a challan or a vehicle. Okay. Now, can there be other way also? Can there be reward mechanism? Not for making the mistakes, not for the basically breaking the rules, but for the good work. If there can be reward, we have come up and we have tested the self-driving score, safe driving score. So safe driving score is like your civil score. What happens? Whenever if someone is driving, then the technology, intervention of the technology comes here. And if the driver is not having any challan or is not having basically, it has never been caught, or basically there are different factors of the different parameters, and if we can have a safe driving score, then maybe the insurance can be rewarded, it can be at the lesser. So not just the sanction, the penalties work, but the reward has to be also integrated. And since we are as a ITS India is a basically society or a forum which is building the various stakeholders, we are building the community, we are trying to build that, helping the government in making the robust policies and making the awareness to the society, which is a basically very important factor, and conducting the various studies. You know that impact, and government brings the various schemes. Government spends a lot of money, but you know what happened? The impact analysis of a particular study or the particular scheme has to be done in a genuine way. If it is done in a genuine way and then comes out what is the impact, if it is a good impact, it should not be like you know that many times the report comes out. It has to be done in a genuine way. If it is done in a genuine way, the technology intervention can certainly help, and believe me, our study says that it can make a difference if the technology is implemented into the different way. I'll say like drivers, you know that if drivers getting the nap, then the technology can tell, yeah, the driver is having a nap, and it can give an alarm to the driver. So that type of different technology implementations on the highways, on the rural, for the congestion, and you might have just seen in the Kumbh. In the Kumbh, you might have seen that so many people have visited this thing using the AI, cameras, and all the implementation, integration of technology. Similarly, the automation in the vehicles is coming in a big way. The Mahindra has demonstrated in the XUV 700 the various parameters. We have conducted with the XUV 700, we have conducted a study in Bangalore, which was done for the purpose of emergency vehicles. Like if the emergency vehicle is approaching the red light, then it will make the red light green till the, you know, then there is a machine to machine communication. No human intervention is required for that. So technology can play a vital role, and as most of the speakers have said, that it is not only just the technology, the skilling, the capacity building has to be done. So the capacity building, we have tied up with the SAARC universities, the South Asian University, which is set up by the SAARC countries, and as a ITS India, we have tied up with them for the various skill development program, and even we are building a MTech program in the transportation. Though a couple of universities have already started the BTech and MTech program and the MBA program in the transportation engineering, skill development is also one of the primary area where the focus is required. So skill development, policy making, there is research and innovation, the having the various pilots basically for the technology. So that and the capacity building, these are the some of the areas we need to collaborate, we need to work, and the society has to be basically all of us has to wake up and work together to make the safer road, safer society. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, there's a lot to talk on this subject. We are running out of time. The floor is just 2 minutes. Sure. So, I think, I purposefully was kind of concluding every, session because I know in the end we kind of are not able to have enough time to conclude. But just for the road safety, I believe it is our problem as much it is government's problem. So I was talking to Dr. Kumar in the lounge, and I said the day a young kid says no to a triple ride, we would have done something in the society. We would have created some impact. I think it's young and the old who can bring a lot of impact, because old brings a lot of wisdom and young brings a lot of stubbornness. I will not do this. So I think, we create alternates for these kids to really not go on unsafe conditions in the vehicles, and therefore there's a need to provide safe operating conditions. With that, I think, I really thank all of you panelists for great insights. We can take maybe a couple of questions if that's okay, or we conclude. Thank you so much. So we will conclude the session. Hopefully it was useful to all of you. And all of you are brand ambassadors for Future for Tomorrow. I think that's important, that it's not us. We were only trying to invoke an idea, but all of us are part of the mobility for future. Thank you so much.
Well, on that very promising and encouraging note, thank you so much, moderator of the session. Thank you so much, panelist of the session. I'm afraid due to the paucity of time, we could not take the question and answer, but we can always do it offline as and when we want to. Thank you once again. On behalf of Exhibition India Group, we'd like to present mementos to our panelists. May I request the moderator of the session to kindly present the mementos. We present a memento to Ms. Viktoriya. Thank you so much, Ms. Viktoriya, for just sharing yet another perspective with us. A big thank you to Dr. Shiv Kumar. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this evening. And this means a lot to us. Thank you once again, Dr. Shiv Kumar. A big thank you to Mr. Srinivas Ganji. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this evening and also sharing your valuable inputs with us, Dr. Srinivas Ganji. Thank you so much. May I now invite Mr. Siji Sani to kindly step forward as we'd like to present a memento to Mr. Siji Sani. Thank you so much. And of course, a big thank you, ladies and gentlemen, with a huge round of applause, Mr. Ankit Kumar. Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar, joining us this evening. And on behalf of Exhibition India Group, we thank the moderator of the session. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for the moderator, Mr. Vivek Ogra. And may I, on behalf of Exhibition India, present a memento to the moderator.